Linggo, alas 5 ng hapon hanggang alas 6 ng gabi. Pinoy Scientist, KBP Best Science and Technology Radio Program. Pinoy Scientist, dito sa Radyo Agila.
Isa na naman po magandang hapon sa lahat ng mga tagapakinig ng Radyo Agila. Ako pong inyong Pinoy Scientist, your friendly neighborhood Pinoy Scientist, Dr. Custer. At kayo po ngayon ay nakikinig sa unang episode ng Pinoy Scientist Art Science Radio. Dito po sa Art Science Radio ay mapapakinggan ninyo ang mga kakaibang storya at kaalaman tungkol sa tambalan ng agham, teknolohiya, inobasyon, kultura at sining. At nais din po natin maugnay ang ating mga kapwa Pinoy scientists. Ang dami nila. Dami na natin scientists ngayon. We're, I think, 200 scientists per million population. We're inching our way to getting to that UNESCO target. Lalong-lalo na po ang mga milyong-milyong nating estudyante at kabataan sa larangan po ng art science o ang Filipino po nito, if I'm not if I'm correct, it's arte agham. Ayan. At palalaganapin po natin ang konsepto ng STEAM education o ang science, technology, engineering, arts. Natin kakalimutan ng mga arts at mathematics. Ang pagsapon natin sa hapon na ito ay pinamagatan nating Meet the Pinoy Art Science Professor. At nakikita na po natin ang napakaganda na professor ng Art Science. At siya po ay si Dr. Corinne Romabiles or Maria Socorro Romabiles, but you can call her Corinne Romabiles. Hello, Corinne. How are you?
Hi, Caster. Nice to be here. Magandang hapon sa kanilang lahat.
Okay.
I'm very happy to be here, everyone.
You're now in Baguio kasi nakikita ko yung background.
Yes.
Nag-enjoy ka dyan. Ano ba ginagawa mo sa Baguio?
Oo. Right now, I'm in a seminar with some professional women, no? Ages, say, 38 to 78.
Mm,
So they're here to study
art science.
Life
Yes,
skills.
okay.
Oo,
At
oo.
siyempre, art science ay maiugnay na yan sa life skills kasi there are a lot of things that we will be learning from the
Yes.
field of art science. Ayan.
Oo.
Talaga pong si Dr. Corinne Romabiles ay perfect for our launching or maiden episode because siya po ay isa sa mga nagsisimula na movement ng art science dito sa Pilipinas at siya ay sorry, AIM professor at dati siyang professor sa Mapua. At bago po tayo magsalita ay nais ko munang pasalamatan ang mga bumuo ng 2023, ang bumuo po ng 2022 Pinoy Scientist Space Talks at marami po tayong naging guest at naging matagumpay po ang ating episode, ang one-year series natin ng Space Talks. Sila po si Dr. Jesus Rodrigo Torres, ang father ng Philippine Astronomy Education, at kasama po niya si Miko Oliver Gimao who became our assistant producer at ngayon ay siya ay nagtatrabaho na so hindi na natin siya makakasama sa Pinoy Scientist. At siya po ang tinaguro ang Brian May of the Philippines kasi ang ginagawa ni Miko ay kinukuha niya at ina-analyze niya ang mga spectral patterns ng mga bituin at kino-convert niya yan into music. Tama-tama, art science. He's one of the art scientists in the field of astronomy dito sa Pilipinas. Of course, si Dr. Thais Rosamano, Dr. Sergio Andres, ang dalawang batikang space doctors. Dr. Sergio Andres, by the way, is a retired physician ng Lung Center of the Philippines at isa po siya sa kauna-unahang nag-aral ng space medicine sa United States at space habitation expert. Ayan. And then we also have our Mars analog scientists and space colonization experts, Dr. Ilaria Sinelli and Dr. Silvio Pervo. Ang aking mga estudyante, naging guest ko rin si Jason Calaw, Princess Tusho at R.A. Bautista at nagpapasalamat ako po sa grupo ng aking mga estudyante na naging guest ko kasi niregaluhan po ako nitong microphone na tuwa sila sa akin. Dr. Vladimir Pletzer, Dr. Gustavo Dalmarco, mga astrophysicists and space tech founders, Dr. James Cesar Refran, Ginoong Archie Velora at Dr. Israel Zenar, Bautista and Dr. Adrian Salces, mga satellite engineers po natin ng Philippine Space Agency, Dr. Krishnan Ganapathy and Dr. Juliana Herbert, these are telemedicine expert, Dr. Aija Salmi and Dr. Dolly Dao, mga space arts and design experts, Thomas Ducau and Sibsan Karpalit, mga batang-batang astronomer mula sa Austria at India, at ang ating huling episode naman ay si Dr. Ramil Santos ng Beijing University sa China na siya naman nagdidisenyo ng mga spacecraft na lalaban para iwasan ang pagsabog ng Apophis asteroid at maprotektaan ang buong humanity. Ayan. Very interesting ang ating naging series of episodes last year ng Pinoy Scientist at ngayon naman ay sisimulan natin ang ating episode ng Art Science Radio. Kasama po natin si Dr. Corinne Romabiles. And I would like to thank Dr. Ryan Guido and Dr. Thais Sabano na sumuporta po ng Pinoy Scientist Space Talk. At kung wala po itong dalawang tao na ito, ay hindi po magiging hitik sa kaalaman at nag-uumapaw sa inspirasyon ng ang ating episodes na kung saan naman ay talagang ang daming mga tao na nag-react at maraming salamat sa ating mga tagapakinig. Ayan. So, bago po natin simulan ang ating napaka interesting na usapan. Oops, by the way, I'd like to thank Mr. Sharon Ortega Cruz, sumulat po siya. Thank you very much. Ang ating artist na si Miss Riza Zuniga, Dr. Edel Zubong Soka ng West Visayas State University at ang kaibigan po ni Dr. Guido David, si Melissa Avila na excited at nakikinig po ngayon sa episode ng Art Science. Ayan, bago po tayo magsimula, ang oras po natin ngayon ay 9 minuto makalipas sa 5:05 ng hapon, Philippine Standard Time. Magbabalik po ang Pinoy Scientist.
Ito ang dapat mong malaman. Ayon sa Global Adult Tobacco Survey, noong 2015, nasa 13.1 million adults, 33.9% ay kalalakihan at 3.6% mga kababaihan ang naninigarilyo sa Pilipinas. Araw-araw, nasa 4% lamang ang naging matagumpay na nakapag-quit habang nasa 76.7% naman ang nagplano o nag-isip na huminto sa paninigarilyo. Pero bakit nga ba tayo dapat umiwas sa paninigarilyo? Ayon sa World Health Organization o WHO, sigarilyo ang nangungunang sanhi ng kamatayan, disabilities at iba pang sakit. Sa buong mundo, nasa 8 milyon katao ang namamatay taon-taon dahil sa paninigarilyo, habang 1.2 milyon naman ay mga non-smoker na nalantad sa second-hand smoke. Sa pinakahuling report ng WHO, nasa 1.1 billion ang bilang ng mga naninigarilyo sa buong mundo at karamihan dito ay nasa low and middle income countries. Ito ang dapat mong malaman.
Magandang hapon po at ang oras natin ay 10 minuto makalipas sa 5:05 ng hapon, Philippine Standard Time. Nagbabalik po tayo sa Art Science Radio ng Pinoy Scientist. Alam po natin, ang art and science ay medyo hindi sila magkatugma. Kumbaga sa mga magkapatid ay para silang magkaaway. Yan ang ating nasa perception natin yan. However, alam niyo po ba ay napakalaki ng overlap ng dalawang panig na ito, art and science. At ang connection na ito ay siyang ating tatalakayin sa serye ng Art Science Radio. And we have with us Dr. Corinne Romabiles at siya po ang magde-demolish ng wall o ng dalawang kultura na ito so that we can have a dialogue between science and art, and we can change the way we see things in the world and the way we educate the young people. But bago natin pasalitain si Dr. Corinne, ay bigyan ko muna kayo ng konting background kay Dr. Corinne, okay? Si Dr. Corinne po ay Professor of Art and Communication at ang kanyang mga estudyante ay mga inhinyero, siyentipiko, multimedia artist, IT expert at mga MBA, mga business students. At dati po siya nagturo sa Mapua University at ngayon po siya ay isang adjunct professor ng AIM ng Asian Institute of Management. At sa kanyang pananaliksik at pag-aaral po ng art science, ay napapunta po siya sa iba't ibang sulok ng mundo. At kasama po dyan ng Harvard University, Case Western Reserve University. By the way, I have a collaboration Case Western on tissue engineering. And then napupunta rin po siya sa iba't ibang mga tech companies sa Silicon Valley like Google, Intel, and MITS. At dahil po sa kanyang kaalaman sa art science ay nagpapalaganap na po siya ng mga programa ng agham arte sa K-12 at iba't ibang mga secondary schools, state universities and colleges and private universities para po ihanda ang mga kabataan at ang mga Pilipino para sa nalalapit o nandito na po ang Industry 4.0 na kung saan ay magiging napaka-competitive ng ating mundo na kung saan ay tayo ay magko-coexist na with technology such as computer, artificial intelligence, IoT. So, without further ado, kasama na natin si Dr. Corinne. Hello, Dr. Corinne again. How are you? May babatiin ka ba muna
Hello.
bago kami sa
Hi, Caster. How are you? Am I coming in clearly?
Oh, yes.
Oh, very good. Sige.
Before muna, bati ka muna bago tayo magsimula sa pananakatakan ng art science.
Oh, okay. Sige. So, magandang hapon sa lahat. Sa tingin ko, meron akong mga estudyante, naging estudyante sa mga ibang schools na napuntahan ko na nakikinig sa atin ngayon. Napuna ko lang yung mga pangalan ng mga nag-like ng poster natin. And gusto ko rin batiin, siguro yung mga, I don't know, a few people who probably heard me talk in some venues, whether that's in like a Mapua or some engineering organizations. There was a time I was invited to an engineering organization, maybe 3 years ago, or 2 years ago. They were professionals. So yun. Welcome po. And good afternoon sa kanilang lahat.
Madam, mababatiin na yung sister niya. By the way, babati ko mami ko, si
Yes.
Pastor kasi ang ating father sa kanya Rodolfo de Carlos at ang ating tatay Chester, kausap ko lang kanina kasi naglilipat at naglilinis ng bahay ngayon. Sorry, I'm sure hindi ka nakikinig ngayon kasi busy ka. Okay? So, Dr. Corinne, let's start off. What is art science?
Okay. Ang art science ay bagong pamamaraan ng pagtanaw, no, sa pag-iisip. So, ang tawag ko sa English dito sa art science course ko ay art science thinking. So, una ko siyang nalaman nung ako ay pumunta sa Harvard University noong 2015, January 2015, natatanda ko ginawa ko, April pala po, April 2015. And ako po ay inimbitahan ng isang professor sa engineering and allied engineering, no? I think so. No? And ang pangalan niya ay Dr. David Edwards. Dahil nabasa ko ang kanyang libro, ang pangalan ay Art Science in the Post-Google Age. Inimbitahan niya ako na magpunta sa kanyang laboratory, ideation laboratory sa Harvard in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So nakita ko doon yung pamamaraan ng pagtuturo niya sa mga mga college students, seniors, no, na malapit na mag-graduate. At dahil na-train sila ni Dr. David Edwards na mag-isip sa magkabilang panig art science, no? Sa pag-train niya, ayan, sa pag-train niya, sa pag-coach niya, natututo yung mga bata. Pero hindi ko siya narinig na nagturo siya. No? Wala siyang lecture nung time na yon. Hindi ko na nakita. Pero immediately we were in the ideation activity, no? Because I was there for 2 weeks. And natutunan ko siya. No? So, ang art science ay isang, sinabi ko na, no? Ang isang, it's like a mental model wherein you are able to make some kind of connection between your creative thinking and your critical thinking. No? So where those two types of thinking cross, you know, like where they're bridged, that's when art science occurs, because art science is at the same time analytical but also intuitive. It is comfortable, no, in something that is complex, but at the same time it's comfortable also in something that is simple. So parang ano po siya, ano, para pong naglalaro between positive and negative, no? So magkabilang panig na parehong magkaiba pero sila ay nag-uusap sa gitna. No? So marami pong nahihirapan pa dyan sa ganyang pag-iisip dahil it's either you are in art or you are in science. So art science is a combination of these two ways of thinking, basically, no? Na kailangan ng malaman ng maraming tao ngayon para ma-solve ang mga problema na mahirap lutasin.
Later on, we'll be discussing about the problem. Narinig ako? Narinig ako? Hello?
Hello, yeah. Parang minsan may konting ingay. May konting ingay, Custer.
Okay. So, narinig niyo ako?
Yan, mas maganda.
Okay, good. Okay. Sige, you were talking about changing yung mindset ng mga engineers, scientists, or the artists. And how do you somehow change
EBC, Eagle Broadcasting Corporation. Ito ang Radyo Agila.
Ito ang dapat mong malaman. Healthy ba ang lifestyle mo? Healthy kung tama ang kinakain at paraan ng pagkain. May physical activities, weight at stress management. Mahalagang kumain ng 3 healthy meals a day. Hindi brunch o pinagsama na ang breakfast at lunch. At hindi dapat na maging heavy ang meal sa gabi. At syempre, the bulk of food consumption should consist of healthy foods tulad ng gulay, prutas, whole grains, at fat-free o low-fat milk products. Malaki ang maitutulong kung hindi maninigarilyo. Mag-exercise at least 30 minutes a day at magkaroon ng sapat na tulog. Ito ang dapat mong malaman.
Narito ang paalaalang pangkalusugan sa panahon ng tag-ulan. Ukol sa pagkain, tiyakin na ito ay naluto ng husto. Kainin kaagad ang nilutong pagkain. Sa mga naghahanda ng pagkain, ugaliin ang paghugas ng kamay bago at pagkatapos maghanda ng pagkain. Kung may sakit, iwasan ang maghanda ng pagkain para sa iba. Samantala sa inuming tubig naman, iwasang uminom ng tubig kung hindi tiyak ang pinagkukunan nito. Kung hindi ligtas ang inuming tubig, pakuluan at hayaang kumulo ng 2 minuto. Maging matalino. Pinsala ay maiiwasan mo. Isang paalaalang hatid ng Radyo Agila.
Babalik po tayo dito lang sa Pinoy Scientist. Ang oras po natin ay 21 minuto makalipas ang ikalima ng hapon, Philippine Standard Time. At sorry at nakatay kanina at medyo nagkakaroon tayo ng technical glitches. Probably it's because of the internet connection in my place, or may static pa rin ba, Dr. Colleen, or is it
Parang
okay?
wala na. Yeah,
Wala,
now it's
wala na
very
yung static.
clear.
Okay. So, let's go back to our discussion, and pinag-uusapan natin is you're trying to have a convergence ng ating mga
Mhm.
artists and
Yes.
scientists through your art science thinking. Ano ang hirap or challenges na iyong na-experience sa kanilang mga mental frameworks?
Mhm.
Kasi it's not easy for a scientist to think like an artist, because sometimes artists, they view
Mhm.
things that are too, sometimes it defies logic and rationality, whereas scientists, gusto nila nakapirme sa scientific framework lang. How do you
Mhm.
break those silos?
Mhm. Yeah. So, kailangan talaga there's a lot of open-mindedness,
Yes.
and there should be kailangan meron tayong parang effort, no?
Okay.
To acquire an attitude that may be more scientific if we are artistic,
Mm-hmm.
and to be more artistic if we are scientific. So, sa mga Pilipino, ito ngayon ay parang isang demand dahil sa area ng science engineering, marami ngayon ang humahanap ng mga paraan para sila ay maging creative. For example, nung ako ay nagtuturo noong 2019 sa AIM, meron akong isang estudyante at sabi niya, "Ma'am, paano po yan? Malaki po ang problema ko, hindi po ako creative." Sabi ko, ang kurso na tinatahak mo, ang pangalan ay Innovation in Business. So ngayon, ang word na yan, innovation, ay bago at mapaka-interesado. No? It's very interesting, this word. Why? Because it connotes, no, para pong sinasabi sa atin na ang isang scientist or ang isang designer ay ay may paraan para makapag-isip ng mga solusyon sa mga panahon ngayon na mahirap. So ito ay siguro dahil sila ay magaling mag-imbento or
Mm-hmm.
magaling silang mag-create, no, ng mga pamamaraan para malutas ang kung ano man diyan, no, whether they come up with something that is material, or sometimes it can even be a way of thinking or a theory. Ngayon, sa Pilipinas kasi, at may mga ibang bansa, kailangan natin matutunan or kailangan nating maintindihan na ang pag-iisip ng artistic way ay importante sa mundo ngayon, at um, dahil sa dalawang bagay, dahil gusto nating makapag-isip ng mga bagong solusyon sa mga bagong problema, at dahil ang art ay isang paraan para tayo ay maging mabuting tao. Yun eh. Ang maging mabuting tao, at tayo ay sa ating buhay na mapakaikli sa mundo, marami tayong matututunan sa arte, no? Na mapapalalim ang ating pag-unawa sa ating pagkatao. Para pong ganun, ano?
I got two
So,
things, Dr. Colleen.
yes. Yes.
Pagiging mabuting tao at saka
Mhm.
inobasyon. So let's
Yes.
tackle those two issues ha. Unahin
Yes.
muna natin ang pagiging mabuting tao.
Mhm. Yeah.
Paano ang arte sining ay mapapabuti ang kalooban ng isang siyentipiko?
Oo.
Is it
Mm.
gonna be enhancing or deepening their sense of moral ethics?
Mhm.
Or ito
Yeah.
ba ay mas gagawin silang compassionate at papagmahal sa kapwa para makapag-isip ng mga bagay-bagay na makakatulong sa mundo? Tell us about how it makes you a better person.
Okay. Because my experience as an art teacher, I'm a humanities teacher for almost 27 years. My experience in teaching the humanities is that it opens the
Mhm.
eyes, it opens the heart, it opens the minds of kahit na sino na estudyante, no, na makakapag-aral ng arte, no? For example, isang larawan or isang painting or isang sculpture, pag tayo nakapunta ng National Museum, ano po, meron tayong encounter with a particular work of art. Okay?
Mhm.
Ngayon, ang pagkakaintindi kasi ng mga tao, pag pumunta sila sa museum or naka-enkwentro sila ng isang art, ito ay kailangan nilang intindihin with their heart or with
Mm.
their feelings. Pero hindi po kasi ganun lang ang pamamaraan para ma maano natin ng arte, ma-experience. Sa akin pong pagtalakay, pag-aaral or experience ng art, kailangan ito ay dumadaan sa ating isip, sa ating intellect, no? Sa ating brain, ano po. So for decades, sabihin na natin po for almost 4 to 5 decades, ang pagtuturo po ng arte ay palaging through feelings, no? Whether that's
Mhm.
films or maybe even music or dance, ito po ay minsan nagagawi rin sa improvisation. So, ang maganda sa pag-aaral, no, through the mind ng art, no, ay makikita po natin na ang isang kunyari po, ang isang painting, no, ni Picasso, na Pablo Picasso, who is a very famous painter, the Spaniard, or ni Fernando Amorsolo, ano po, malalaman po natin na meron palang istorya si Fernando Amorsolo, meron pala siyang parang pananaw sa kanyang pag-paint ng mga ganong klaseng kunyari uh, mga rural Philippines, ano po,
Mhm.
meron din po siyang style at ng style sa pagpinta.
Okay.
Meron din po siyang uh, na 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 experience po na history ng Pilipinas, kaya po na i-translate niya yun sa painting,
Yes.
no? At marami pa pong whys and wherefores ng isang painting na yon. Hindi lang po natin pwedeng sabihin na, I feel so delighted
Ay,
about
ang
that
ganda ng
painting.
painting. I like the color.
Oo,
Gano'n, 'di ba?
hindi lang siya
Okay,
gano'n.
that's right.
Oo. So, ito pang magandang mga paintings ni Fernando Morsolo, kinakausap po niya tayo at kailangan po natin niya itong painting na to kung mausap sa atin, no, para pong dialogue. At sa pag-aaral po natin ng mga maraming paintings ni Amorsolo, meron po siyang itinuturo sa ating mga values. For example, ano
Hmm.
po, ang pagmahal sa ating kapaligiran. Kaya po maganda, no? Ang mga farms, pinapakita niya rin po ang fiesta ng Filipino.
Yes.
Pinapakita niya po ang pagdarasal. Pinapakita niya rin po ang pagmamahal sa pamilya. So, hindi po ibig sabihin na pag nakita po natin ang art, fini-feel lang po natin siya. Kailangan po, meron po tayong techniques, no? At pag-aaral, no, in a very systematic and scientific way nitong mga arte po na to.
At siyempre
So,
pinag-uusapan din
yes.
diyan yung mga anggulo ng pati yung the play of light and color. But
Yes.
okay, you
Yes.
mentioned Picasso kanina kasi
Mm.
one thing that struck me, I went before sa Sofia Museum and that is where yung Guernica ni Picasso. And
Mm.
ako kasi madaldal ako so nag-uusap kami ng kasama ko. Pagpasok ko ng kwarto, pagsilip ko sa Guernica na napakalaki, natahimik ako na parang meron bang parang may sumampal sa dibdib ko na napakabigat na pakiramdam kasi
Yes.
naramdaman ko at alam ko kasi yung history yung tungkol sa Guernica na kung saan na
Mm.
nagkaroon ng bombing doon sa isang cafe.
Mm.
Nakita ko yung historical aspect and it's just amazing. But one thing I'd like to ask kasi si Pablo Picasso, he said, art have pretends to the truth. Art
Mm.
is sometimes a lie, and it
Mm.
is through the lie that we know the truth. That is a different perspective as with scientists.
Mm.
Scientists it is objective truth na dapat malaman mo at dapat makuha mo properly and statistically validated, and show what you got and come up with an interpretation, but art does it in a different way. Ano masasabi mo sa pananaw na yon?
Mhm. Okay, so kasi sa pag-aaral din natin ng art, no, maraming mga artists na nagagaya ni Picasso, pag inaral natin, ikaw, Prof. Caster, no, inaral mo yung mga yung kanyang mga sayings, no, maybe you also learned a little bit about his history, no, or even the history of the Guernica, kailangan natin siyang ilagay sa tamang konteksto. Kailan ba siya nagsalita? Ano bang parte yun ng historya ng mundo? Hmm? Kasi minsan, yung pagkakaalam natin about art, no, ay art that is defined today and art as we experience it today. Hmm? When Pablo Picasso, during his time, was talking, especially like in the time when he was painting the Guernica, World War II
Yes.
was happening. And
Mm-mm.
so I would like to think that the lie that he was talking about are the various um, ideologies that were arising during that time. And one very strong ideology, for example, is Nazism or fascism. No? And these are ideas of a wrong kind of power and authority over, the weak. Hmm? That is a lie. Hmm? So maybe it's just his way of expressing his times. Kaya ang ganda-ganda na pag-aralan ng arte ng mga scientificong tao, dahil na ano sila, na i-engage ang kanilang pag-iisip. Dahil hindi mo lang ina-analyze ang mga kulay, ang mga objects, at ang mga symbols, no, na
That's right.
nakalagay dyan sa art,
Mm-mm.
pero nalalaman mo ang history at ang mga kwento ng mga artistang ito, kagaya ni Pablo Picasso na mapaka ah, rich, no, ng kanyang background. So, kailangan natin siyang palaging ilagay sa proper context. Yan ay tinatawag na art history.
I will
So,
not talk about Van
yes.
Gogh kasi Van Gogh is my favorite. I went to Van Gogh Museum at
Yes.
nung nakita ko yung Starry Starry Night ay nagdrama-drama ako, naluha-luha pa ako and all. But I won't tell
Mhm.
about it kasi talagang masyadong napipit ang aking puso pag pinag-uusapan tong si Van Gogh. But let's proceed with the second question.
Mm.
Once we have artists, I'm sorry, scientists and engineers, technologists
Mhm.
adapt the artistic way of thinking, the
Mhm.
way Pablo Picasso Amorsolo thinks, ano ang
Mhm.
kinalalabasan nito?
Mhm. Ito ay hindi madali.
Mm-mm.
Kaya nga, ang inaaral ko ngayon ay kung papaano magturo sa mga tao na hindi sila nag-aral ng art. So, ang art ay inaaral at sa pag-aaral ng art, no, itong sa pag-aaral ng art, meron kang training diyan sa pag-iisip na 'yan. So, hindi mo 'yan pwedeng ma-acquire ng overnight. In the same way na ako, kailangan akong nag-aral ako ng chemistry or meron akong periodic table, kailangan kong i-memorize, 'di ba? Kung ano yung mga sabihin ng mga elements diyan sa periodic table. The same in art. Ibig sabihin, kailangan talagang bigyan ng pansin ng mga scientists and engineers itong field na ito, dahil meron siyang training sa thinking na makakapagbigay talaga sa kanila, no, ng um, ng isang powerful way, no, na sa kanilang everyday thinking.
In
So
other
hindi
words,
lang ito,
Dr. Corina,
yeah,
wag niyong ismolin ang art teacher ninyo ng high school. Wag
hindi
niyong
talaga.
sabihin na like ako isa rin sa medyo pinagdurugo ng puso ko yung art was combined into what like MAPE na isa
Yeah.
lang na isa lang siyang speck of dust in the
Yes.
education system, when in
Oo.
fact we're now beginning to realize that
Oo.
most of the things that we see around the world, most of the
Mhm.
biggest technologies are actually because scientists were educated in the art thinking or art science
Yes.
framework.
Mm.
Can you give us some examples of
Mhm.
innovations na masasabi mong nagpabago ng mundo dahil sa pananaw ng isang scientist sa pagiging artist? We can
Yeah.
go back to as early as Leonardo da Vinci, na kung saan the Renaissance people are scientists and are
Mhm.
artists, and to the modern era.
Yeah. So, ito kasing mga scientificong ito, for example, si Leonardo da Vinci, no? Siya ay nabuhay nung panahon ng Renaissance. At ang mga communities, ang mga towns nung time na yon, wala silang specialization masyado. Ang mga tao na nagpapalaganap ng art, no? Kunyari, isang powerful family, ang pangalan ay Medici.
Medici,
Si
yes.
Medici, ang mga Medicis, no? Gusto nila lahat. Walang mahirap, walang matanda, walang mayaman, walang bata na pipiliin para ma-expose sa art. Ngayon, pag sa ating pananaw, no, pag sa ating experience dito ngayon sa Pilipinas, pag pumunta ka ng Ayala Museum, pag pumunta ka ng ganitong klaseng museum, siguro may kaya ka. Walang ganon. During the time of the Renaissance, no, art is very democratic. Everyone is schooled in beauty, the beautiful. No, their public squares, their parks, the public space is so well cared for that the citizens are schooled in order, beauty, higher learning. No, walang mahirap na sinasabi, kasi public place lang yan, madumi. Wala pong ganun. So, nakukondisyon po ang mga tao na makapag-isip ng ng mga bagay-bagay na mas klaro, mas maganda, no po. Ang ngayon ang mga Pilipino sana no sa konting changes na magawa natin sa society natin, baka talagang matututunan po natin itong artistic thinking no sa mga scientists natin, sa mga engineers, no? Dahil meron na po talaga tayong attitude na gusto natin ang mga bagay ay magaganda. Sinasabi natin magandang umaga, no? Magandang gabi. Bakit kailangan nating sabihin yung word na maganda? Dahil yan ay nasa puso na natin. Gusto natin ang mga bagay at mga tao ay maganda. Kaya lang po, hindi po natin nakasanayan no na meron tayo pong tinatawag na pagtingin. Ginagamit po natin ang ating mga mata, yung pong visual culture. Hindi po natin siya naalagaan ng mabuti. Dahil ang exposure po natin sa ating culture of seeing ay usually po ay banyaga. Ang banyaga ay something na parang maganda sa mata, may mga palamuti. Pero po ang ating kultura, ang ating arte sa Pilipinas, hindi po siya kasi masyadong spectacle. So akala po natin kung hindi walang masyadong kulay, kung ito ay gawa sa kahoy, no, parang hindi siya masyadong maganda, no? So kailangan pong matutunan ng Pilipino kung ano po ang mga bagay-bagay na maganda sa kanya. Pero yun po ay isang training, no, yung visual culture. So, bakit po kaya yung
Dr. Corinne,
yes.
visual culture, but how about performance arts? How about music? Dapat bang
Yes.
isama din natin yan sa formula ng
Yes.
art science?
Yes. Yes, kasi ang tao meron siyang five senses. Hindi po ba? Meron siyang sense of sight, sense of hearing, sense of touch, no? Even his taste, and then his sense of smell. Ang art, yan ay it is supposed to appeal, to all our senses, to our sensibilities. Kaya lang sa aking evaluate ng mga nangyayari sa country natin ngayon, para po tayong yung pong ating sariling dance, music, theater, even our film, our painting, sculpture, architecture, ano po, minsan po siya ay nasasapawan ng mga products ng mga banyaga. Di po ba? So, kailangan po ang Pilipino, sana sa mga panahong darating, no, babalik tanaw po tayo, no? Kaya nga po, very important po ang history. Ako po ay nag-aaral ng Philippine Studies, na malaman po natin why we are a great nation. So, si Castor po ay naging estudyante ko po siya rin po. At ang sinabi ko po sa kanilang klase ay, yun na nga po, nakakalimutan po ng Pilipino na siya po ay talagang magaling.
At malikhain.
at malikhain. Kaya lang kasi most of our influences are Western. And what the difficulty in that is, we are struggling to reconcile, no, what is beautiful in Western culture with our own DNA, no, being Filipino, of what the beautiful is for us. Because usually the beautiful for the Filipino, is expressed and defined by what he has in his surroundings. For example, nature. Do we appreciate our forests? Do we go to our the rural areas? Do we go to our mountains? Sabihin na natin ganyan. Do we like looking at our seas, maybe our beaches? We have to be influenced by these things. What about
Right.
our flowers? Bakit yung gumamela, akala natin, ay mga kalachuchi lang yan. Bakit palagi natin iniisip maybe tulips or orchids?
Mm-mm.
So our environment, we have to be shaped and educated by our environment and our own people.
Dr.
Kaya lang kung
Corinne, so
minsan nagkakagalit tayo. Yes,
oo, you're
Pastor.
talking about, yung interaction ng environment, artistic, and technology. I want to
Yes.
go back to innovation and scientific progress na
Yes.
paano matutulungan ng arts kasi uh, wala tayong cellphone kung hindi art scientist mag-isip ang isang Steve
Mm-hmm.
Jobs.
Yes. Yes.
And Ada Lovelace, the
Mm-hmm.
person who started computer programming, the first programmer,
Mm-hmm.
is an art science advocate na sinasabi niya it's like weaving a mathematical equation is like weaving fabric and beauty. And
Yes.
her perception is ang sinasabi niya is if you want to be inventive, think like an artist,
Yeah.
mentor and think like an artist.
Mm-hmm.
And when we look at plays, sinasabi natin ang ganda ng mga itinatanghal sa teatro. But
Mm-hmm.
sinasabi natin on one end, ang hirap ng physics, ang hirap ng math, ang hirap ng geometry. But
Uh-uh.
theater arts, music, they are beautiful and
Mm-hmm.
they're as complicated as scientific experiments
Mm-hmm.
because they are weaving
Yeah.
expressions of the glories of the universe and life.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
and by coming up with that kind of perspective, we can now merge the
Mm-hmm.
two kasi sinasabing hindi tayo magkaiba.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Arts and science are not different features or not different pathways. They're
Mm-hmm.
all together working together and their complementarity will create something that is new, beautiful, and probably life-changing.
Yes, yes. So, kasi ngayon, ang kausap natin ay mga kapwa nating Pilipino. And we are
Mm-mm.
advising, no, our own scientists and engineers what they can do precisely to have this as part of their everyday lifestyle. What is artistic, what is beautiful. Now, in other countries, like Leonardo da Vinci, he lived in Italy. But in Italy, art and culture is pretty much a part of their everyday living, at the time of the Renaissance. And then earlier, we were talking about Steve Jobs. In the United States, all these things that I'm telling you about were really part of their academic plan. In other words, in high school, no, in the high school and in college in the US, even in elementary school, they were able to really incorporate, no, art studies in these schools of in the schools. No, so at the very least, you have their Steve Jobs. Even if he is a college dropout, he knew about, say, for example, music. No, he likes music. He
Albert
likes
Einstein,
Indian culture. Or Albert Einstein.
violinist,
So you
pianist.
you either have these people from the United States or in Europe who are more exposed, shall we say, in art and the things of the beautiful. Although they did not study, these things were coming into their senses quite naturally. I'll give also an example here. Paul Allen, who co-founded Microsoft with Bill Gates. Bill Gates isn't really so, I think, he's really not so particular or articulate about his love for art. But Paul Allen, who died a few years back, he amassed, he is one of few Americans who have bought so much auction, great art in the
Mm-mm.
world right now, such that when he died, he didn't know what to do. So why does a computer engineer like that so appreciate art and spend so much of the millions of dollars that he has, no, in that? Because they knew, they knew that in their consumption, in their taking in of these artistic, um, you know, uh, materials, shall we say, or these realities, they will grow better as an artistic thinker, and a cultured person. Now, that is really not so much a part of the Filipino. Why? Because we have other things in our everyday living. So, what do we do now? We have our educational system that should be able to reinvent itself and learn precisely from the experiences of other countries
Where do we
like
start? Uh,
Europe
where do
and,
we start? Elementary, high school, college? Saan ba
yeah.
tayo magsisimula? Kasi parang
Mm-mm.
I know what you want to see. You want to see Philippines having a renaissance. You
Mm-mm.
want to
Yeah.
see nais mong magsasampung minuto na lang, we'll have a show, konti na lang ang ating oras, but we'd like to know from your perspective and your suggestion, wisdom, how do we start the Renaissance in the Philippines?
Mm-hmm.
I know you studied Medici's. I know you studied a lot of technology, and I know you can already, come up with your own philosophy and strategy.
Yeah.
How do we get to that Renaissance? Because ang daming Pilipino na napakagagaling,
I know.
napakatalino,
I know.
napaka-artistic.
Yes. Okay. So we should be very positive, no,
Mm-mm.
in our thinking. And since the Filipinos are also very open, this is the time to unite and think peacefully, no?
That's right.
And say that we need this almost immediately in all levels of education. So right now I even have a crash course, a quick fix, for Filipinos who want to be innovative, just like Leonardo da Vinci. So we have a post-grad subject in AIM called Art Science Thinking. Meanwhile, I advise those in the DepEd, those in CHED, and even those in TESDA to come up with a more systematic way of incorporating what you call art studies in their curriculum. Now, that is something that is given by art experts because you can't learn that overnight. So the question is, how many of these academic art experts do we have in the Philippines right now? That some of them are researchers, some of them are in the universities. These um, art experts, no, they're not artists necessarily, but they teach the humanities, for example. They should be able to get out of their comfort zones and collaborate in coming up with systems of thinking, okay, with maybe even industry partners, and the whole spectrum of education, especially, say, for example, STEM teachers
How
that
difficult will
will,
that be, Prof.
uh,
Corinne? Parang ang hirap. Kasi parang iba na yung pagtanaw anak, mag-aral ka na ng accounting. Anak, mag-aral ka nito para
uh,
makahanap ka ng trabaho. Nobody is telling, walang magulang nagsasabing, anak, mag-aral ka ng arts, tapos mag-aral ka ng science para iba ang iyong pag-iisip. How do
mm-mm,
we make the change? We only
uh,
have 8 minutes, Prof. Corinne, but
okay,
maybe a short answer
yeah, okay,
to a
so
strategy.
everyone still goes into their specializations, but there are added uh subjects, no, that will teach them what you call multidisciplinary approach, a multidisciplinary thinking, that they don't immediately just think about their specialization, but everyone would have to give way for other fields,
Mm-mm.
that will make them equipped for the fourth IR, where collaboration is so emphasized. No, you have to collaborate with other fields in the social sciences if you're in the hard sciences, if you are a chemist or a geologist, you should be able to talk with a fashion designer. You should be able to talk to an architect, because these other two will tell you how to make, for example, a PPE that's very nicely done, no, aesthetically pleasing. Meanwhile, the architect will tell you how to come up with a better built environment. And you, as a chemist or even a geologist, no, should be able to talk to these people. But if you can't seem to relate to them because you are not so creative and artistic, then we will have a hard time in this very collaborative fourth IR way of living.
So I get it. Aside from just, itong art science sa framework ay magiging isang catalyst para mag-create ng mga bagong mga inventions at life-changing theories. It's also a way to communicate and unite people so they can work together
Mm-hmm.
and
Correct.
dream a better world.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Uh, Changes in the education system. How can you tell a president of a university or even CHED or DepEd to invest in the arts for economic and technological development in the country?
Mm-hmm.
I
You
know
see,
it's a tough question, okay?
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well, since I am also a proponent of this, it's a dialogue. It's very, very new. But since I've been in this research for quite a while, um, there is a system. Mm?
Mm-mm.
There is a very how do you call this, like yeah, a step by step approach. It's very organic, so there are no quick fixes. That's why sometimes you say, how is that? It's very hard. Yes, because there's no quick fix. So me, I really want to share, okay, what this quick fix is. But I am still also in, it's a work in progress. But I would like to think that a framework that I've come up with will really stand out, no, because it's not the usual way by which art is used in normal everyday living, which is
Mm-mm.
quite existential, eh. Like, what is art for? Can you comb your hair with art? No. But art now becomes what I call handmade of the sciences and engineering. Similar to the way philosophy aids a person understand what God is about. Like, it's kind of really, complex what God is. Sometimes we say, oh, chemistry is so hard, physics is so hard. Yes, but for these hard sciences to be more democratized, since we're promoting STEM,
Mm-mm.
we should be able to know how art can be translated into something as academic as chemistry, mathematics, physics. So the approach is, and the magic word is academic approach to art.
Okay. So thank you very much, Dr. Corinne, for that wonderful session with us and with
My
everybody here at
pleasure.
Pinoy Scientists in the
My
country.
pleasure.
Alam niyo po, itong ating mundo ay, we value speeds, efficiency, even money, and nag-iiba na ang ating realidad. And it's about time that we think that science and art would need to work together, because
Mhm.
science and art will not just only improve yung ating collective consciousness, but science and the arts meld together will make a bigger voice, because both are expressions of the human development, both are expressions of prosperity, aspiration, and about improving our lives. So
Mhm.
nais ko pong iimbitahan kayo sa ating series ng Art Science Radio, at I will be inviting again Professor Corinne, ang ating art science expert ng Pilipinas, to join us in our session. Are you okay, Prof. Corinne, to join
Of
Pinoy
course!
Scientist?
Of course, si Castor pa. Malakas ka sa akin.
Okay, and then we'll start the democratization of arts, and we'll also start the move so that the arts will be integrated in the STEM, para po mag-iba na, para mapabago natin ang takbo ng science and technology dito sa Pilipinas, at maisama natin ang lahat ng artists sa paggawa at pag-build ng magandang kinabukasan para sa ating bayan. So, thank you very much, Dr. Queen, for all your work and
Thank you,
for
Caster.
joining us. And great
Salamat.
applause for all the people who are listening.
Thank you everyone for being with us.
Mm-mm. Ayan, nais kong pasalamatan si Nelson Lubaw, ating station manager ng Radyo Agila, Kuya Eric, Kuya Jonas, Renan, at ang lahat ng tech team na nasa istasyon. At maraming salamat sa inyong suporta sa ngalan po ni Dr. J. Agapito, Makatang Siyentista, Dr. Guido David, Professor Octa. Magkita-kita na naman po tayo sa susunod na linggo dito lang sa programa no kung saan ang sensya ay buhay.
5 decades of excellence in broadcast communication. EBC, Eagle Broadcasting Corporation. Ito ang Radyo Agila. DCEC 1062 sa Mega Manila, DWIN 1080 sa Northern Luzon, DZEL 1260 sa Southern Taga, UYFX 1305 sa Visayas, at DXED 1224 sa Southern Mindanao. Ito ang Radyo Agila. Mabilis, malakas, pumapagaspas. Para ligtas ang pagbibiyahe sa daan, tiyaking nasa kondisyon ang inyong sasakyan. Dapat may sapat itong tubig, gasolina at langis. Maayos ang brake at tama ang hangin sa mga gulong. Tiyaking kumpleto ang toolbox. Isang paalaala para sa maayos na paglalakbay mula sa Radyo Agila.
Ate Cha, busy ka ba?
Hindi naman, bakit?
Paalalahanan natin ang ating listeners tungkol sa pagkain ng masusustansyang pagkain gaya ng mga mabiberdeng gulay tulad ng kangkong, talbos ng kamote, broccoli, spinach at marami pang iba.
Uy, mga isdang sagana sa omega-3 gaya ng tuna, mackerel, tilapia, sardinas.
Citrus fruits tulad ng suha, dalandan, kalamansi at lemon.
Diyan nga pala, hindi citrus ang mansanas, peras, pakwan, saging, berries at mangga. Baka kasi ito ang kaisipan ng iba.
Pero sa totoo lang, napakaraming masustansyang pagkain na hindi naman mahal kung tutuusin na makatutulong para lumakas ang ating immune system.
Lalo na nga sa panahon ngayon na may pandemya, kailangan na malakas ang ating katawan para may panlaban tayo sa iba't ibang sakit.
At syempre, tuloy pa rin ang pagsusuot ng face mask, madalas na paghuhugas ng kamay, pagdadala ng alcohol at syempre yung social distancing.
Mabuti nang sumunod sa health protocols para na rin sa ating kapakanan.
Paalalang pangkalusugan ng inyong mga kaibigan sa Radyo Agila.
Ito ang dapat mong malaman. Ayon sa Global Adult Tobacco Survey, noong 2015, nasa 13.1 million adults, 33.9% ay kalalakihan at 3.6% mga kababaihan ang naninigarilyo sa Pilipinas. Araw-araw, nasa 4% lamang ang naging matagumpay na nakapag-quit habang nasa 76.7% naman ang nagplano o nag-isip na huminto sa paninigarilyo. Pero bakit nga ba tayo dapat umiwas sa paninigarilyo? Ayon sa World Health Organization o WHO, sigarilyo ang nangungunang sanhi ng kamatayan, disabilities at iba pang sakit. Sa buong mundo, nasa 8 milyon katao ang namamatay taon-taon dahil sa paninigarilyo, habang 1.2 milyon naman ay mga non-smoker na nalantad sa second-hand smoke. Sa pinakahuling report ng WHO, nasa 1.1 billion ang bilang ng mga naninigarilyo sa buong mundo at karamihan dito ay nasa low and middle income countries. Ito ang dapat mong malaman.